am falling in love with hunting, but I have fallen in love with what hunting can do for relationships.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the M42 Adventures podcast. I am your host, Rick Trimmer, and today we have a very special guest, a guy that we've been excited to talk to for a while now. His name is Trevor Farnes. He is the founder and CEO of Mountain Ops, and he actually just came out with a new book called The Conquer Code: Unlocking Success Through Failure, Faith, and Family. I had a chance to listen to the book, and if you get a chance, I would encourage you to listen to it because it's read by Trevor and there's a lot of emotion in his words and in his voice that really, I think, bring a whole nother dimension to that book. So check out his book. I'm really excited for this conversation. I'm a little nervous about it, to be honest. It's a little outside my comfort zone. We're going to talk hopefully about some of the things I'm comfortable with entrepreneurship, being a family man, hunting, things like that. But faith, that's something that I do struggle with. And so I'm excited to get Trevor's perspective on this and dive into this conversation. So here we go. Let's jump into this conversation with Trevor. Thank you. I thought I had about a day and a half to listen to your book, and I got through it. I did binge listen, and the reason I'm nervous is, like I said, we have very, very similar stories. Which is really weird.
Awesome.
So a little bit about me, just so you have it, because I know it's one of those things that's weird is when you throw your life out there and you write a book and, everybody feels like they know you. So I'm from Utah. My wife's from Kaysville. She went to Davis.
Oh, wow.
You're up in that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
And started my first company in Tijuana, Mexico, a wood mill.
Okay.
Got up to about 300 employees down there. In 2006, was really rocking about 2008. And then obviously the crash happened.
Yeah.
And lost everything. So when I was listening to your book, I got very emotional listening to you get emotional because man, you go back and, nobody can really understand. We lost our home. We lost our vehicles. They repossessed them. I was pawning TVs off the walls and guns that were not sentimental to feed my children. My wife was 9 months pregnant at the time.
Wow.
And we ended up going back into my grandparents' basement and just rebuilding. And so, when I was reading it, I just kept seeing myself in those stories and, being there with my wife and she's pregnant. And, I remember asking her, are you going to stay with me? I've lost everything. And she says, of course, I wasn't with you for money. And so we rebuilt. I'll just go real quick. We rebuilt. I'm in construction, and we started buying rental properties. I worked, for 3 years. I didn't take a day off, 12-hour days, not one day. And that was my longest stretch, was a little over 3 years, 38 months. Christmas, birthdays.
You kind of have to do that, right?
You have to. Yeah, I didn't have a choice. So my business, my construction company, was guaranteed by my parents' farm in Utah. So the only thing that I couldn't give up was, I had $600,000 in loans that were guaranteed by the company, by that farm. And so a big hole to dig out of that I couldn't get away from. And we just went to work, and I didn't take a paycheck for 18 months. My wife went back to work as a 911 dispatcher here in Utah, and we lived off that income and dug out of the hole, made changes to our lifestyle. And I actually sold the 65% of the businesses in 2017. And we went traveling. I've been traveling for the last 7.5 years with my wife, and we had 2 little boys, now 3 little boys.
Wow.
So we've been to 70 countries.
Wow. And what have you been doing in those countries? That's pretty amazing to climb yourself out of that hole and then be able to travel the world.
It is. Yeah. We bought rental properties. So I got 8 rental properties, paid off, got away from all debt. And so that income, along with the sale of my business, gives me, I should never have to work again as long as I'm not an idiot,
It's amazing. That's awesome, man.
So that's my story. And so we came back in 2020 to have a child. So we had my third boy. So you've got 3 girls and a boy.
3 girls and a boy.
and I've got 3 boys, and then we came back this year just to have another baby. And my wife's pregnant right now with a little girl. We just actually did our gender
Awesome.
reveal in Africa.
Wow. Congrats.
So
Wow.
so 3
So
boys and a
that's
girl.
3 girls. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
So
Are you
that
guys
kinda
here in Utah still?
Yep, I'm in St. George.
You're in St. George. Okay.
Mhm.
I've got a
So
place down there. So when I'm down there next, I'll call you up. We got to get together.
yeah, I've actually got a place down here too. I'll send you a link to it when we hang up, and
Cool.
I'll get you and your family to it. It's insane. It's insane. It's over
Awesome.
by Zion, and it's right on top of a mountain. It's wild. It's wild.
Really? That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's
So
shocking.
what's been the favorite country to travel to? Where have you guys gone?
Yeah, I get that a lot. Italy. I love Italy.
Huh.
My kids, you know, we haven't gone anywhere too crazy. I mean, we've gone to like China,
Yeah.
Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, but
That's
we
not too
kind
crazy, huh?
no, well, I mean, you can get pretty, nothing too dangerous, but we like New Zealand. We road trip New Zealand for 6
Yeah.
months. We road tripped Australia for a year. We road tripped all of Europe,
Wow.
17, 18 countries there for 2 years. So kind of a wild story,
That's
man.
amazing,
So
man. Yeah,
enough about me, but
I'll have to have you. We just are about to launch the Coppercast at Mountain Ops, and we'll have to
okay,
have
what's
you
that?
come and I'll ask you the questions. And
What's that?
we'll
Like
tell
a
your story.
podcast?
A podcast.
I
Yeah.
love that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, just changed roles here at Mountain Ops. I don't know if you
Yeah, I was
heard
gonna
that
ask
from
you about
Ryan,
that.
but
Yep. Yep. And that's
it's good.
what is that? So we're gonna kind of jump ahead, but what are you what are you
Yeah,
doing?
we're definitely building to sell Mountain Ops. We sold part of it a few years ago to an incredible private equity group, and I'll always be a part of it. It's like my story. It's my baby. All that we're doing with Operation Conquer Hunger and such is comes from these hard experiences that we've been through, but it's so much a part of the brand and our family story. But a few things: succession planning. Putting somebody in place that can be there after a transaction that will stick around. We brought on the former CEO of. Well, he was the CEO. We recruited him away from On It, and he's an incredible individual. Really aligns well with the brand. We've been friends for a couple of years. Knows the supplement industry and like the back of his hand, and just solid leader. And so super excited to have him on board. He's taken my spot as the CEO. But what it also is allowing me to do is free up some of my time and attention to focus on driving awareness to the brand through podcasts, through our own podcast. I just wrote a book, as you mentioned, getting that out there as a tool to help people understand kind of the backstory to Mountain Ops and the heart and soul of Mountain Ops, that we're much more than just a supplement brand. We're doing a ton in the community. We're doing a lot for individuals so that they can perform most effectively within the walls of their own homes as husbands and fathers and wives and mothers. And so I want to have my time freed up a little bit to do more of that and to show what Mountain Ops is doing for the individual, for the family, and speaking engagements and such. And so having this new role will allow me to do that, and then create some succession planning that once we do have a transaction, that I can go and focus on donating more and more meals. I love what we're doing with our Operation Conquer Hunger, and ultimately in the end, I'd love to spend more time doing that. So, and obviously more time with my wife and kids, and maybe do a little bit of what you're doing, travel in the world. We do a bit of it, but not like you. I love getting out, learning other cultures, trying their foods, meeting the people, and just kind of soaking it all in. And there's so much to see in this world. I'd love to have more opportunity in the future to do that. Hunting's given me some of that, in South Africa multiple times, and New Zealand and Alaska, and all around here in the United States. And it's allowed me an opportunity to really connect with some incredible individuals. And that's what I've loved most about hunting and the hunting industry that we play a role in. So.
Well, and that's what I love after, listening to your book. And that's where I kind of felt like we're kindred spirits, because
Yeah.
we both lost everything. We built it back, and have become successful, right? Quote unquote successful.
Yeah.
And, everybody, whenever I tell people and those who know me, when I first, I went to my family and says, hey, in January of 2017, I says, hey, I'm going to head out and go travel the world for a few years. And they're like, what? What do you mean? I don't understand. And I'm like, I've got enough money. And they're like, enough? What does that even mean? And I says, you can see over here on my wall, I've got a thing. So my Instagram's One Life So Live.
Cool.
And, I can tell that that's what you embody, because it's hard for people to step down. A lot of people get their ego, or they get, this is my baby. And I was never that way. You actually mentioned in your book, Mountain Ops isn't my identity. It is a big part of me, and I love it, but it affords me to go do what is my purpose. And that was me, was spending time with my family. That was number one. You've heard all the things where they say you spend 80% of your time with your kids before they're 12, and then you get another, 20% up to 18, and then, or 15%, and then 5% after 18. And it's like, that's not going to happen to me. I want to get all these years in because they're going to be gone.
Yeah, they are. Man, I'm living that right now. I've got my oldest turns 20 next month. And she's out in Brazil on a mission, and that came and went not like that, And then, I've got a daughter that's ending high school this year, a son that will end middle school, and a daughter that will end elementary. So kind of at the end of each of these phases of life. And I was telling somebody the other day, there was so much time spent, building and all this. And I think I was pretty intentional and fairly successful with spending time and attention with my kids. But, building a business, sometimes it is a 24/7 job. And so there are some moments where I'm like, oh, I wish I would have been a little more present during this phase or during this time or whatnot. And now where life is at a point where we have been able to spend a little more time, my kids aren't there. I was there when I was trying to be there, and now all of a sudden, hey, I'm there, and they're like scattered. They've got so many good things that they're doing. We try to keep that in check so that it's not that we're doing everything. It's not like they're just a part of any club or sport or all this. Like we try to keep that in check enough to where the family has time with each other, but they're busy and they're off and they're wanting to do those things you and I did when we were teenagers and, when life was happening for us. And so I can't blame them, but I'm like, oh man, like I'm home. Let's come home. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And so it goes the phase of life that we're in right now. It's an interesting one, but I'm also enjoying it, watching my kids grow and learn and develop and make choices that, will lead to great outcomes, I hope. And they're doing good things. So I'm proud of them.
Well, and how old are you?
I'm almost 43.
Okay. So I just turned 44. So that's what's also crazy is my oldest is 12. I'm like, you're like, I'm coming right behind you. I'm on your heels. So I'll need some advice, especially with this little baby girl coming. But that's
exciting.
That's exactly like you're saying. I thankfully, M42 is a passion project. I still don't have to work. I came back and we wanted to have a baby. And so I thought, hey, this is an idea I had. Ryan's a partner on it, an owner of it. And it's just, so you're exactly right. Where I'm luckily I'm able to, I went home last night and wrestled with my 4-year-old, on the couch and stuff. So grateful that's
awesome
here now, but I'm aware that it's going to change. They're going to want to date and do all those things. So, let's jump into this. I got some specifics here that I want to go through with you. So
cool.
Again, like I said, I just want to, a little bit about me and kind of my history.
No, I'm grateful to know that because there's so many commonalities. So we'll see eye to eye on a lot of this. And then
exactly
after this podcast, I want to connect for sure. So.
Absolutely. So, CEO of the year in Utah, 2024, right?
Yeah.
That's insane. That's insane right there alone. That
kind of caught me off guard, to be honest with you. I was just at home over the weekend, one weekend, and got this email. We've been a part of different, best place to work in Utah type awards and that type of thing, and entrepreneur of the year events and stuff like that. But this one, it just kind of came out of the blue. I got an email and it said that one of my team members had nominated me, and they had reviewed the nomination, and we're going to award this award at this event. So I was like, is this, you're telling me that like I already won, or do I need to go through some steps to like,
Yeah.
and so I responded with that, like, hey, am I receiving this, or is this like a potential thing? Like, I don't get what's going on. And they said, no, you'll receive this. And then they told me who it was. It was our VP of sales, Darren Yates, an incredible individual. He just, he is the brand Mountain Ops. Like he lives it. He loves it. His whole family does. They're just all about it. And he's been an incredible support here at Mountain Ops, and actually has built out our retail program at Mountain Ops into all the retailers that we're in right now. But I talked to him about it, and he just said, the qualities that I'm watching you live and such, like you deserve this. And I don't feel like I deserve it. There's a lot of great people out there, but the team that I have surrounding me is like really what's created any type of success for me, or any type of recognition. I can't just say, yeah, I've been an amazing CEO. No, it's like I've had an amazing team. That's been like one of the highlights of building Mountain Ops for me, is being able to be part of assembling a group of individuals that really have the same mission in mind. Their heart and soul is in this, and our culture is incredible here. And so any success has come by way of connection. So to connection to him, like Darren, to the rest of my team, to my family, to my God, like that's what's created the secret sauce for what's occurring here at Mountain Ops. Sometimes I just am sitting in the seat that gets the recognition, So
Yeah, and absolutely. And I understand that. And I think that's what makes you a great CEO. The ones who sit in the seat and say it's all me, they're not going to get nominated, So
yeah,
that just shows your humility, and that's why people are drawn to you, and that's why you're so successful. And then what also hit me with that again is hearing your story, and just, like I said, it's not even just hearing it, because I lived it. I went through
yeah,
not being able to feed my kids, and not be able to put money in the gas tank, or gas in the,
yeah,
gas tank.
yeah.
And so for you to come and to win that award, I just think, man, you had to have sat there with your wife and said, wow, and I'm sure you have that all along the way in all these different chapters, but that was a cool one, man. Just reading that, it's, I just
Thanks.
seeing where you've come from, and to that's gotta be just a humbling
It
feeling.
was rewarding, especially that, my team members saw fit to do that. But yeah, I sat there with my wife, and my two oldest daughters went to that. And then I had some team members there, and it was a great moment. But honestly, like, to recognize the team and the goodness that they do. And then at that moment, I was contemplating, do I hire a new CEO? This is, and yeah, the timing was right.
Yeah,
Right. There are, just to prove it, like, there are much better CEOs than me. And I
yeah,
just hired the best one I could,
yeah.
and we're lucky to have him. So
It's also good to be able to be like, "Hey, man, listen, I am the best, so you got to, the bar's been set, brother."
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
he doesn't have big shoes to fill.
yeah,
He just
yeah,
comes in. He's himself. It's awesome.
yeah. I would never want to follow up CEO of the year, but that's just me, That's a little intimidating, but so yeah, so you're nominated for, or you win that, and then right now, right on the heels of that, or maybe, after, I don't know, but you release a book, right?
Yeah,
So, The Conquer Code, right? Um,
yeah,
and that's where I was getting to, why I'm intimidated with this conversation, and, you know, we'll get more into it. It's a couple pages down here, but, growing up in Utah, similar background, similar, I grew up LDS, and then I fell away. And I know your book, it focuses on that.
hmm,
That's at the center of it, of your life.
yeah,
And so I was telling my partners here, I'm like, man, this one's a little out of my, the last few guys I've been interviewing, have been, you actually just had Eric Chesser on, Eric.
Oh, Eric's awesome. I love Eric.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Ben from Shed Crazy. I don't know if you know Ben.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so I can talk hunting. I can talk,
Awesome.
we've had some surfers on, and some dirt bike motocross guys and stuff like that. But faith, and religion is, I don't want to say intimidating, but it's something that I haven't had, And so I want to
Yeah.
dive more into that because, um, I've got a couple stories, but even just when I first started reading your book and you tell the story about your daughter, looking for the Lord and
Yeah.
God and Jesus in the book, and you get emotional, and I get emotional, and I'm over there like wiping away tears, and I'm like, what is happening? But it was very well written, and so that's where I'm a little intimidated. It's outside of my comfort zone. It's outside of my knowledge. I'm just ignorant. Like I said, the first 18 years of my life, went to church every Sunday,
Yeah.
scouts, fast offerings, baptisms for the dead. I did
Yeah.
all those things. And then I fell in love with a girl and, didn't go on the mission. And then I just kind of went right instead of left. And
Yeah.
and so it was really cool to see somebody that I could relate to on so many different levels and respect, and then see that you had this in your life. And I actually just grabbed one of my partners. He's very religious and just a really good person. He just walked in the door about 6 minutes before we were supposed to record, and I says, "Hey, I'm going into
Uh-huh.
this podcast, and I'm a little intimidated." And he says, "Just be honest, just be honest and
Yeah.
open." And so we'll jump a little more into that, but
Yeah.
that's where I'm coming from,
Yeah.
just so you know, and
No, it's
I don't wanna be disrespectful or say anything, not that I would, but I just want you to know that I'm ignorant on that aspect, and I want to learn more.
you, you're good. No, and I'm an open book. As you can see, I put it all in the book and kind of not left anything out as far as where my beliefs lie. And ultimately the book is called The Conquer Code, and that code it's complete, it's open, it's unlocked through my Savior Jesus Christ. There's no in my life I've found that is the greatest way and the only way for me. And so I've not shied away from that. I do respect and honor and revere, and like I say in the beginning of the book, that people have different beliefs and backgrounds and thoughts around faith and religion and spirituality, and I love that. Like I love to learn about others, and that's why when I said I'd love to travel the world and experience other cultures like that, that at the heart of it, it's that I want connection with people,
Mhm.
and then to understand where their beliefs are and what their faith is like, and if it's in an energy or if it's in something else. Like I love that they have something to turn to, and I've just found what mine is, what my source of strength is, and then, I've put it in the book, but it's more than words in a book. I just feel like as individuals, the more we can just be true to who we are in life, and we are who we are wherever we are, the more happiness, the more joy we'll find. And so I'm an open book, and I'm a simple man, so you don't have to feel intimidated at all. I like even my faith, it's simple, but
Mhm.
it's pure and it's strong. It's like what carries me through. But I've found some very simple routines in life that keep me connected to that faith, and it's been everything to me. So yeah, no need to be intimidated. You'll find more and more you get to know me, I'm as simple as they come.
No, I
So
appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was actually on Ryan's podcast a couple years ago, and he was asking me about my, faith, and I says, "I don't know where I stand," he says, "Do you believe in God?" And I says, "I don't know," and he says, "Do you?" And I says, "I would never ever deny it, him or, why would I? If I don't know, why would I go that way?" And he said something to me that has stuck with me. He says, "Rick, you're probably the most spiritual person I've met that isn't religious." And I says, "Wow," that, and that's always stuck with me, that, um, I, like I said, I try to, I still live by the values of the church. I
yeah,
still respect them. I was telling, this guy's name's Woody, my partner, whenever I travel the world, anywhere I'm at in the world, I, if I see missionaries, I try to buy them lunch.
yeah,
I
it's
just
awesome.
I just love them. I think, man, these young
Yeah,
kids are out there, even if you don't understand the religious aspect of it, it's like they're out there 100% serving, and they're
yeah,
scared, they're far away from home, they probably wanna, most of them wanna hear an American accent, and, uh, and that's where I've always lived, whenever I'm out and about. And so, the part that I have with religion is I'm envious of it, I really am. My father-in-law, a few years back, his sister had passed away in a car wreck. And my wife called him up and says, Dad, I'm so sorry, that your sister passed away. And he says, it's okay. He says, I'm going to miss her terribly for the next 10 or 15 years, but I'll see her again.
Yeah.
And I was listening to the phone call. It was through the car. And then she hung up and I says, man, I'm jealous of that. I'm envious of that knowledge and that belief and that faith to just know, I don't have that. And you can imagine, I have all the other aspects of my life in order. I have a good marriage. I have beautiful kids. I'm successful financially. I'm, living the dream of traveling. But I wish I had that comfort. I really do. And so I want to talk a little more about that. I've got that towards the end of my
I love it.
notes here.
That's
But
my
that's a big
favorite
deal for
topic.
me.
So no, it's
Okay.
good. I'd love to chat more on it, and have had similar experiences. My father passed away this last year, and everything that I've once been taught or have taught like became very real to me, and he was the purpose behind the Mountain Ops product and how this all got started to begin with. So there's a lot to that as well. That's, whether it's a test or trial of my faith, it was like, it put my faith in an area where it's like, this is firm. This is my knowledge. This is what I know. And so, we can dive into whatever questions you have about that or however you want to go along those lines. So
I love that. Okay. So, I want to talk obviously more about the book, that's what we're here kind of, letting people know about. Again, I've already referred it to 7 or 8 people in the last weekend.
appreciate that.
I listen to a lot of books, hundreds and hundreds of books. I'm a book junkie. I have been, I actually have my little boys, they read a book once a month, and then I write a test for that book. And then if they pass it with 80% or higher, I give them $50. And so my 12-year-old's written like, read like 30 or 40 books, on,
That's so
Rich
cool.
Dad, Poor Dad, whatever it is, anything I can find. So I'll throw yours into that mix because it's a very good book.
That's awesome.
So first and only book you've written, I mean, that's got to be pretty intimidating. How was that to, what made you, I guess I know because I've read it, but you wrote it for your family.
Yeah, it was a process, and it originally started with just like, I feel like God's given me an ability to have experiences in life and then to see them like from an eternal perspective, and to kind of watch his hand as we move through those experiences. And I didn't want those to just, be a memory or to be a thought or something that I had for myself. I do believe you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. And I know that my children will go through life and they'll experience things. And so I created it almost as a journal to begin with that would go to my children and my wife and, future grandchildren. And it started with that. And I called it divine delays at first, because I felt like there was all these things that I wanted to happen in my life, but they just weren't happening on my timetable, And so there was, but as I walked through those processes and things did happen, they might've happened a little different, usually better. But in a different timing. And so I started to realize these delays I'm experiencing, they're very divine. They're from God, and I need to pay attention to that. And I was very intentional about paying attention and choosing to see that along the way, as was my wife. We talked about that quite often as a couple. And so we wrote this. And then as I was writing, I was like, hey, this is kind of formatting into like a good flowing like book. Like this kind of coming together. It honestly took about 5 years for this process to culminate, where it was like, okay, I've got a manuscript. But it was along the way at Mountain Ops, part of our culture is that every month we do our Conquer More challenge. And it's, you have an accountability partner, and each of you set goals that you share with each other in the realms of spiritual, physical, mental, social. And then right in the middle, we put a core value for the month. So this month it's desire, that we've been working on in August. And we set a goal for each of those. And so for like 3 to 4 years, each of my accountability partners, I would tell them in the mental phase, I'm going to write 400 words in my journal this week. Every week I'm going to write 400 words in my journal. So they all thought, okay, he's big into journaling. And then just this last year, at the beginning of the year, I announced to my team, hey, if you've ever been one of my partners, how many of you have heard that I was writing in my journal in the mental quadrant? And, these hands go up. And then I said, well, the actual thing that was transpiring or taking place was I was writing a book that's now called The Conquer Code. And everyone's like, what? You've been working on a book? but so for 5 years, it took me that time to put the manuscript together. Then I wasn't quite sure. Is this just something that I give to my children? And I'm not a good writer as far as like punctuation, grammar, like, spelling, all that. I'm not, I don't succeed in that realm. So I actually hired an editor for a year, and every week we'd sit down together and we'd go through like 15 to 20 pages, and we'd get it all kind of tidied up. And yeah, this needs to flow from this to this. And they really helped me just structure it correctly so that I had something I was proud of to hand over to my wife and kids. They knew I was writing this, but nobody else really knew. At the end of the year, I gave it to a few people, and two of them actually were board members of Mountain Ops. And one of them in particular came back and said, Trevor, you've got to utilize this as a tool to drive awareness to the brand. It gives a backstory on you and, what your family's been through, the reasons for doing Operation Conquer Hunger. Where did the product come from? Like, the more we can have this transparency and trust with our consumer, the better for our relationships with those consumers. And so, and he just said, he's from New York. He's like, there's just not enough good content out there for people to absorb or to take in and consume. And so let's use this. And so he was this cheerleader for me, that just encouraging me. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of nervous. But then I shared it with the rest of the board at the next board meeting. Said, I wrote a book over the last few years. We could utilize it as a tool. So yeah, I have a few different reasons for having written it. For my children first. And as you see in there, you find the Lord again and again and again, just like I shared the story with Savvy. For my children, one day I won't be around. One day they'll be in Brazil, maybe Africa, wherever they might be traveling. I want them to know that their father spoke of Christ. He talked of Christ, preached of Christ, rejoiced in Christ, all these things, so that they know when I'm not around, and even if I am around, they know the source of peace, of strength, of forgiveness, of all these things in life that can bring them what they need to face the future, and this world that's full of craziness with some confidence. And so that was the purpose. Like, I'm going to write these words so that they can find the Lord again and again and again through the words of their father. Another purpose is to point people to this brand of Mountain Ops and what we're doing in the community, these core values that make up the decision-making guardrails and factors of leading us towards our mission, which is to improve the lives of individuals and families. And then, as I mentioned, the Conquer Code is my Savior, Jesus Christ. Ultimately, when all is said and done, more than anything else in life, I want to point people to him, to that strength, just like I want for my children. There's a quote that says, a man filled with the love of God is not content with blessing his family alone, but ranges throughout the whole world, anxious to bless the human race. That's what I feel like. My family's everything. What I do within the walls of my own home is everything. It's most important. Those connections are most important. But I feel this call from God, this desire to like share him and to point people to him, because I know what the relationship, what the connection that I've had with my Savior has done for me. And so I just have that desire to get that word out there in as much of a normal and natural way as possible, knowing that everyone has their own thoughts and beliefs and feelings, but those that maybe will resonate with what I'm sharing and they find a way through, a daily routine to connect with him a little more fully and awaken that divine, then that's what this is about. And I've received some feedback on the book recently that's, if it was done now, it's done its job just by having connected with one individual or two individuals. I'm a very much like relationship driven person, and even Mountain Ops, it's kind of a one-on-one business build where it's like this relationship matters most. Let's work with them. Let's build them. Let's help them find ways to conquer more. And so it's been received well, and I've gotten some great feedback on it. But I think more so than anything, it's because it's pointing people to some truth that either it confirms what they already feel, or it's helping them remember something they once felt, or it's teaching them something new that they're like, this resonates with me,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, I've thought about writing a book. I've thought about it, because of my story, right?
You should.
And I loved how you said, you did it for your family. Once you said that, it's like, well, you can't lose. You cannot lose.
Yeah.
Like that book is already won. It's, for your kids, it's already met its value times 10,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that really hit with me. It's like, man, just to write something so my kids, my boys, my daughter, can hear my words like you're saying.
Yeah.
That's a big reason I like doing this podcast as well, because then they can go back and listen to these and see
So
who their
awesome.
dad was. And so I love that. And that's where, I'm one of those guys where I'm very specific with my time. We have to be right.
Yeah.
And just hearing your story and what you represent and stuff, I just thought, man, you're cut off the same block as me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you should write the book for sure. And I love that you're recording these. And that's something like every hunt that I've been on. And a lot of those happen with my children and with my wife. Like they've all been filmed in some way. Sometimes it's professionally recorded, sometimes with their phone. I've got hundreds of thousands of photos and videos on my phone that my kids are like, you did this again. But it was interesting. Like sometimes they're like, put the phone away. I try to record everything. And sometimes there are moments where it's like the phone needs to go away. But when my daughter was leaving to Brazil, she got a little emotional, and we were looking back through like the childhood years and all this stuff. And she's like, thank you for recording all of this. That we
Mm,
get to go back and we get to almost relive these things. So it's not just a memory, but it's like the details that were recorded along the way, and the memories and the moments that just build our relationships they're all there. And some of them are to the public and some of them aren't, but it's like, we have that record that won't just be for them. It will be for they think of like, we used to have to go develop our film and all this. Like, look what our kids get to pass on to their kids.
yeah.
It's pretty incredible when we have the tools at our disposal to record all that we do.
Yeah, when we first started traveling, my wife was taking pictures of everything, and I'm the same way. I'm like, "Put your camera down, live in the moment, come on." And thankfully she didn't, at times she did, but um about during COVID, we had been traveling for like 3.5, 4 years and came home to have a baby a couple months before COVID hit, and then that all happened. But for my birthday, she took all of those photos and made them into books.
Yeah.
And so now we have all these books, that you go through, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I am so grateful that you did that, that we took the time. So yeah, I love that.
That's what I do
Um,
for my kid every year for Christmas. I give them a chat book, but when I post on social media, it's my journaling. I do like hashtag I love Hallie, hashtag I love Kenzie, I love
mm,
Beck. So at the end of the
mm,
year, I can go into chat books and anything with this hashtag, make a book out of it. And
that's
then at Christmas
genius.
time, they get that
I
element.
love that.
So
I love that. I'm still in
yeah,
that one. That's great. That's a good idea. So wrote the book, and then right out of the gate you wanted to run a marathon, right? And I think that's where, M42 Adventures, our motto, we're 6 months old, we're brand new, we're a baby. But basically
what does
we're
it
trying
stand
to,
for? M42.
so M42 is when you're trying to come up with a brand, it's impossible these days. Everything's taken. So
Everything's
um
taken.
yeah, it's the scientific name for the Orion Nebula. So the
Okay,
Orion
cool,
constellation, our community online that we're launching on Sunday is called the Genesis.
cool,
Um, and so we've been building that for about 8 months. And basically we're trying to
awesome.
get people, outside. So we did a Hawaii experience. We're calling them experiences. That was a hunt, but it's still an
Yeah,
experience. Like we just went to Africa. There was
yep,
hunting there, but we went to the orphanages.
yep.
We did like a cooking class, butchering classes, um, helicopter rides. So we're, with my travel
It's
background,
awesome.
you don't want to go just to Africa and shoot something. It's like, come there.
Yeah,
And so,
experience it. Yeah,
yeah, so that's what M42 is doing, is we're trying to get people outside to do, we did an Alaska one. We have a boat in Alaska too. If you ever want to go up there, let me know. I
very
know a
cool.
guy.
Let's do it, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, anyway, that's what this is about. And so when I saw that you had done that marathon, it's like, you're obviously a guy who loves an adventure. You're into hunting now, which I am very passionate about.
Yeah.
What, I heard you, because I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner. I cannot stand it. I get so bored. Plus I'm 6'5". But you had bad knees. You had all my
Yeah.
excuses and you still did it. So
Yeah.
do you still run? Do you still run all the time?
I ran this morning, but not like I did when I was running that, like prepping for that marathon. But I do. I love incorporating that cardiovascular routine into my routine, but I don't necessarily love it. It's interesting that what I found preparing for the marathon, and I literally found the hardest marathon in Utah.
Yeah, Moab, right?
Just Moab.
That's not
They
on.
call it the mother of all marathons.
That's on dirt, I would imagine, right? That's not even
It's
on a
all
road.
trail. Yeah, which I love trail. Like the road sucks, and I've been running it in the mornings just out my door from my house, but I don't enjoy it as much. But if I can get up into the mountains, and I found just a playlist of songs that when I
I
put it
love
on,
that.
I felt like I was while I was training, felt like I was like this warrior running through the woods. I just needed a loincloth.
Hey guys, I wanted to take a quick minute and step away from this conversation with Trevor and talk to you about a few things we have going on at M42 Adventures. First off is the Genesis. It is open. It's our online community. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be doing some really cool, unique things. I'm actually doing a live Zoom call in the Genesis today at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So if you're listening to this before, hurry and go sign up. It's free. You can go to m42adventures.com, sign up, and come join me on that live Zoom and learn more about it. If you're missing that call, you can sign up later. It's going to be recorded. You can get into the Genesis and watch that video later. But it's going to be pretty amazing. We're doing some cool things. So check that out. It's free for September, October, and November. And we're also going to give away a Montana knife and a custom-made M42 Adventures cutting board. So about a $500 value there. We're giving that away on October 14th or 15th. I can't remember the exact date. But if you sign up for the Genesis and tell some friends about it, you are entered to win. So check that out. Another thing that we're going to be doing is launching our new events. So we're wrapping up this year. We did 8 events this year, experiences. Utah, Hawaii, Alaska, and Africa. Absolutely amazing, life-changing experiences for me and our guests. And we've got those same experiences, and we're launching Costa Rica surf experience, a horse experience here in Utah, and a UTV experience here in Utah, where we actually go out for 4 days, 3 nights on those different things and experience those. So those will be launching here over the next couple months. And make sure you're following people in the Genesis or sign up for the newsletter. We'll have first dibs on those spots, and they are selling out fast, just word of mouth. And people who have come on this year's events are already signing up, wanting to sign up for next year's experiences. So pay attention to those. Again, the newsletter, sign up for that minimum, and be following us on social media. So lots of exciting things going on. We appreciate the support. We appreciate everybody who supported us this year, our first year, and we've got big plans for next year. So thanks for listening. Let's get back to this conversation with Trevor.
Then on my marathon, I ran every mile for someone.
I love that.
It was
part. I love that part. The 26 songs, 26 miles. That
26 songs. Yeah.
That's where it starts speaking my language, where I'm just one of those guys I'm like a statistician. I break it up into, and I'm like, and you were talking about your, did he pass away? The gentleman that you ran for? No, you ran for, there was a
Kyle,
boy in there.
Yeah. Oh, Mason, his dad named Kyle. He passed away about 2 months ago. And he had a long battle with cancer. He was just 17 years old, just graduated from his high school class, but from the time he was 10 till just a couple months ago, just battled it. And in fact, the night that my father fell, he fell down their stairs and broke his neck. And so it was a tragic, like very abrupt death. I was talking to Mason and his father back and forth on Messenger, like, just some things that were going on in life, and checking in on Mason to see how he was doing. And then, like, literally right as I stopped texting them, I got a call and that my dad had fallen. But so they really good friends. We've never met in person. That's the interesting thing about this, community and social media and everything. We've been supporting each other for a long time and just been friends and checking in on each other and praying for each other. And his dad provided me, he said, here's the song that Mason wants you to run. And it was gonna know we were here. So it was, the day I found out he passed away, I went out and I ran like 6 miles straight with that just on. on this loop, thinking of this young boy because I've got kids like that. Now this father that he's going through, he had spent his whole life just attending to his son so that he could have those moments with his son. So trying to not take life for granted. But yeah, I've learned a lot of lessons from the connections that I've been able to make through business and life. And so that helped me run. I would say I'm not necessarily a runner, but I chose this difficult race to run, thinking it'll be a one and done. I'm not going to do this again. I'm coming up on my 40th birthday. I'll invite some friends, and I got a big group of friends and family to come and do this. And some of them I guilted into. And most of us, it was our first time running a marathon. Truett Haynes actually challenged me to do it. And he said, hey, less than 1% of the population has run a marathon. I didn't know that. And
I
then
didn't either.
Smaller percentage run a trail marathon, which makes it a bit more difficult. For me, it's easier just to be in nature and to be, having different variety of, climbing or terrain or whatnot. Much better. And then I hired a coach. And so that made a world of difference. And that coach helped me, get out and stay accountable to being on my feet, putting my feet through that, my legs through that. But I would say that every run, whether it was the first run I started or the last training run before the marathon, the first 3 to 4 miles, they all were horrible. And then once my body's getting accustomed, okay, I'm out of my feet, I'm getting loosened up, and I'm 40. So it's like, I got some aches and pains and everything. Then mile 4 and on, then I don't think you get to any type of runner's high until you've passed that hurdle. And that's why I think a lot of people say, I'm not a runner. I don't like it. It's no fun. It's like, you kind of have to push yourself past that. And then you get into this groove. And then from about mile 4 to 15 on my training, I was like, I wrote some chapters in my book in my mind while I was out there. That's where I did experience this runner's high, and just thoughts and everything were flowing. And
it's almost
I had
like
time
therapy.
just to connect. It was therapeutic for sure.
Interesting.
It took time and it took commitment. And then at the end of at the marathon, the first 20 miles felt good. I had a smile on my face. It was the mile 20 to 26. I was like, what in the world just happened? And especially the last 3 miles, I was like, this is horrible. But it was a matter of 30 minutes. And I was like, I got to do this again,
Wow,
and it was like,
really?
maybe I can go a little further now. And I've gone out and just run on my own a little further, but I haven't done any official races. But I think that's next. I've got to find something, maybe a 50 or 100K and start preparing for it. I loved having something that I was working toward that was part of my routine. It was pushing me outside my comfort zone. And it honestly helped me just progress in life and think about life in a different way. A lot of the times while I was running, and you read this in the book, I would look off to something in the distance, and I got to just get to, well, did you see the fireworks going off in my screen?
Yeah. What is that?
I don't know. I would do my hands like this, but I would look.
That was amazing.
I would look up at the fireworks.
I was going to say.
And, but I would make it to that tree, and I'd be like, okay, now I just got to go to that tree. And I'm always trying to parallel the physical with the spiritual. And so I was looking at a way of progressing through my runs and through life and looking up to this mark, this determined mark that I was going to get to. And then I'd push it out a little further. But there's a scripture that I love, and it says to not look beyond the mark. And so as I was looking up to the mark, and then I get that, and I look beyond to the next mark, and I was recognizing in life, that's okay to work towards those milestones. But the mark that I was thinking of as I was paralleling it spiritually is my Savior, Jesus Christ. He's the mark. And so often in life, we look beyond the mark to what will fulfill our success in life, houses, cars, whatever it is. And a lot of us take our eyes off the mark. And ultimately, what will matter most is that relationship with one who saves, with one who gives life. I love the scripture that says, I've come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. So if we feel like we have an abundance of life, you and I, we've been blessed, right? We have a great family, we have successful businesses, maybe some vacation homes and this and that. And, but there's more than that. And it comes through the one who came to give life more abundantly, maybe in a way that we don't typically, focus on. And so my running kind of helped me focus in on those lessons in life and how I'm journeying through life, and that he is never something up in the distance, never a mark to reach out. He's right there always with his hand stretched out, just waiting. And whenever we reach out, it's there. So
Yeah, I love that. Like I said, that was, again, very inspirational for me to see somebody who, you know, what I respect about people who do and not say. There's so many people who they just are always talking and saying they're going to do this, going to do that. But I like that, it seems like you're a man of, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go and I'm going to see it to the end, and so um I love that. Another part of that, I think this came a little bit after that, but it might have been during that, but was how you talked about your dream of when you were auctioning your time. That was the one that
Yeah.
really hit me because again,
Yeah.
I time is everything, to me.
Yeah.
Um and so when you talked about that and you had that dream where people were raising their, your families raising their hand,
Yeah.
that really influenced me because that's how it is. That was just such
Yeah.
a perfect analogy and representation of how we give our time and that you need to be thought out and are you giving too much here, not enough there. And so I really loved that story.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I actually, when we hold Operation Conquer Hunger events where we bring people together and we assemble meals, I share that story before every one of those events because
Mm.
people are there raising their hands, saying, "Hey, I'm here, willing to help. I'm willing to give some of my time and attention." But also the meals that we pack. In my dream, I saw hands going up of people I knew, my family, people from work, people from church, people from the community, and then there were strangers that had their hands going up, and I was really concerned in my dream that like, why would they need me? What are they calling for? And so as it pertains to our Operation Conquer Hunger, I often think of the mothers and fathers of the children that we serve through the Mountain Ops community that have their hand up saying, please just give me a little bit of your resource, a little bit of your time and attention. And in that dream, it was so real when I woke up, it just replayed itself in my mind over and over again. But in that dream, it wasn't just time that I was giving, it was time and attention, which was even a step above just giving time. Because I think sometimes we can be somewhere and we can be giving time, but are our thoughts there? Are we listening? Are we truly
Are
present
we
in those
engaged?
moments that are we
Mhm.
engaged? Yeah, exactly. And so, I think about that all the time. And when, going through different phases of life. And right now I'm going through a different phase of life where I've offloaded some of my responsibilities and I'm taking on new ones and have to look at like, where are my resources going? And a lot of times in life, we complain about not having enough time. And I believe the God who gives us the time we have gives us the time we need. What we do is we exhaust our efforts in the wrong areas. And so it's so important with all the hands going up in our life saying, hey, look my direction. Give me some of your time and attention. It becomes super critical for us to say no sometimes, to evaluate where it should be going, and to make sure that those relationships and those areas of life that matter most are receiving the proper amount of time and attention. You seem like an individual that has mastered that with your wife and kids, and there's much more I would like to do there because those are the relationships that I cherish the most, and so it just comes down to being intentional about that gift that we've been given, and it can be taken away today. Tomorrow is not promised. And so today, the present is sacred. We will never live in the future because once we get there, it'll be the present. And so it's important that we pay attention to the choices that we're making today. When a new member of our Mountain Ops team joins our family here, I sit down with them. I talk to them about the culture of Mountain Ops and what they should expect and the core values and how they drive us towards our mission. And I give them a new pair of shoes to start this
Mm.
journey on.
Mm.
And I tell them the choices that you make and the shoes you wear today will determine the shoes you wear tomorrow, the blessings, opportunities, responsibilities, or which blessings, responsibilities that will be stripped away because of the choices. And so it goes one way or the other.
Mm.
And I learned that lesson in a very powerful way. I had a young man in my neighborhood that passed away a few years back. I was asked to speak at his funeral. And he was one that was known for the shoes he wore. He always wore these pastel colored shoes and everyone knew him for that. Like there was thousands of people at his funeral.
Mm.
And I was struggling to try to figure out what to share. Like, how do I honor this young man's life, bring some peace to his family? And I just had this inspiration from him. I felt his name's Gabe and Trevor, talk about my shoes, talk about the
Mm.
shoes I wore in life
Mm.
and how those moments someday is, there's a danger in the word someday when what that means is not this day. And it can be the thief of the opportunity of time and the blessings of eternity. Today is the day we have to choose. And I learned that lesson through my friend Gabe and the shoes he wore and the things he taught me while he was wearing those shoes. And so I share that with our Mountain Ops team, give them those shoes and hope that they have an incredible journey on this path of Mountain Ops and what they're learning and growing with here. But it's so important that we're intentional with the time and attention that we give today, and not like, hey, when I get to this point, I'll give it. It needs to happen today.
Absolutely. I actually have here in my notes, one of my favorite quotes you had was, you pile up enough tomorrows and you'll find you are left with nothing but a lot of empty yesterdays.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. If it's time and what you do with it, and being very, like you said, with engaged. I know a lot of people who say, I'm playing with my kids, and you go there and they're on their phone, their kids in the room. It's like, that doesn't
Yeah.
count. You got to
Yeah.
be, they want you to wrestle. They want you to be the buck and bronco, they want you to tickle them, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, man, like I said, everything you write in there, I could talk to you forever. There's some other stuff I want to get to, but, everything that you wrote in there, it just felt, sincere, and I think it's a lot too with you reading
Appreciate
it. I can tell, you're very, you got your emotions on your sleeve, and I do as well. Everybody that
it.
knows me, I always get,
Sweaty eyes.
yeah, yeah. I cry at commercials all the time. I cried probably 6 or 7 times during your book, I did, because, you can just feel that passion and that love, and, so, yeah, I wanna
I appreciate that.
get into some of this. Obviously you went through losing everything we talked about in the beginning, founded Mountain Ops. Was it Mountain Ops in the beginning when I know you're doing it with your father with his
Yeah, we did it. It was called Phoenix Nutrition, and I
oh,
called it
that's right.
that because
That's
it
right.
was, it was this new life beginning, kind of,
Mhm.
rising from the ashes. And my
Yeah,
father
that's
needed
awesome.
that from his health, and I needed something new from a business standpoint. And that
Mhm.
business is still in existence. It sells through chiropractic offices for the most part. And
Oh, okay.
that product, though, in the Mountain Ops lineup, 4 years after starting that, we found an opportunity to go out after the hunting audience and this hunting community that wasn't really being served by a nutritional supplement company. And so we found that there was an opportunity, massive hunter athlete movement.
So
And the
smart.
product that I had created for my dad is now called Enduro. It's one of our
Mhm.
staple products at Mountain Ops. It's a cardiovascular and non-stimulated product that a lot of our big sellers have kind of spun off of. Like Yeti is our pre-workout, Ignite is our number one seller. They all have the base formula of Enduro in it. So it's helping people with their heart. And then with energy, with focus, we've got, pre-workout that helps people with their, muscle strength and allowing the muscles to not fatigue during workouts with the nitric oxide boost and such. But it started with my dad and that first product. And then 4 years later, we started Mountain Ops with that same product. But
That's amazing. So Mountain Ops is like a supplement nutrition
yeah.
company. Is
The
that
OPS
right?
stands for Outdoor Performance Supplements, and the
Okay, there you
mountain,
go.
the abbreviation of mountain is, it can represent a lot in life. The mountains we face, the mountains we're climbing, the achievements we're trying to obtain, the summits we're
Mhm.
reaching towards, the obstacles that are in our way, the mountains we've confronted in our
Mhm.
past, maybe in the current situation, in the future, we'll all face mountains.
Mhm.
And so we want to be a brand that, from a physical standpoint, we have products that serve you, but from an emotional and a social and a connecting standpoint, like our wellness regime focuses around spiritual, physical, mental, and social. And so when people join our community, that's what they receive. It's a little different than most. And then, excuse me, people that buy our product, because my family had gone through, these hardships, and we had faced our own hunger issues. During those times, my wife and I really, it was our faith that carried us through. It was our faith in our Savior Jesus Christ. But we would read the Bible all the time, and we would read anything that like stood out. Talking about food was like our eyes were drawn to, like, feed my sheep. I was like, I would take that literally, where he's talking about the gospel. It's like,
Mm.
I gotta feed his sheep. I gotta,
Mm. Mhm.
or I'm the bread of life. Or when a young lad brought him two fishes and 5 loaves, and I felt
Mhm.
like that young lad, like, this is all I've got. I don't have much.
Mhm.
Um, but my wife and I made a commitment that with those fishes and these 5 loaves, we would try to do something with it to help the person we once were, or in the moment, the person we were. It was $22 donations we started with. And now at Mountain Ops, what we do is the orders that come through, people are buying a supplement that will benefit their own life. We take a portion of the revenue from that, and we donate a meal to a child in need. And we're just about to hit the 7 million meal mark, having been donated through what we call Operation Conquer Hunger. But it all stems from our own experiences. You and I have had them. Our eyes were open to the need because we had the need, and now the need has become the gift. And it's been incredible. But it was kind of one of those moments in our life when me and my wife sitting in bed one night, we had just finished reading Think and Grow Rich, and we had written out this document, here's what we will do. And part of that was what we were going to do for God's children. And that included feeding them. And so we made a commitment back then. The choice we made was to not wait till the boat came in full, because honestly, at the time, I never thought the boat would come in full. I didn't expect to become rich. I just knew that God, I was a mission driven, passionate individual. I wanted to do good in this world. But so much of that time, I was like, I just feel like a failure. I don't know if I'll ever get out of this, but I want to do good. I'm going to do good. I know God needs me to. And so we made that commitment. Then over time, it's grown. And we've multiplied those loaves and fishes to where it's all come back 12 baskets full, and we have more resources to work with.
Millions of meals you guys have
Millions
supplied.
and millions.
That's
so.
I just told Woody, I says, they've fed, or they've done 4 or 5 million meals, and he says, whoa, that is, and I love, like you said, with one of my companies, we plant a tree for every order, and we've been doing that for 20 years.
Awesome.
It's a wood mill, and so we're taking wood, we might as well give something back.
It's amazing.
But we did that through the recession. We did that when we couldn't, I couldn't eat, and it's only a couple bucks for a tree. But at the same time, like you said, if you start when the ship is full, one, you may never start, and I'm with you on that, thinking my ship's never going to be full. But yeah, man, I can't imagine. I take that back, but what a beautiful company that you have built with such a, it's literally changing the world, and I love that. A lot of these businesses out there, they just, they produce money, and that's fine. That's capitalism. That's great. Yeah. But I love that you took it beyond that. And I think that's why you're so successful, and why people are drawn to you is because it's not about the money, it's about making a difference. So yeah, I'm a fan, man. Like I said, after reading your book,
I appreciate
and it's got to be a pretty fun thing. I wanted to get into hunting just a little bit. So yeah, you're new to the hunting world. I heard some of your stories, and I love them. I've been right there. I actually did a podcast. If you get time, go back and listen. It's an elk hunt, but it's about bears. And it's pretty hilarious. It's a true story.
That's awesome.
It's pretty hilarious. I did it with my dad here in the studio.
Oh, cool. I'll go listen to it for sure.
It's pretty entertaining. But yeah, man. So hunting, it's sounds like I can see your wall. It's changed your life. It's changed mine. I hunted. Did you hunt at all growing up ever? Did you ever hunt?
Starting Mountain Ops was the start. I think I killed a squirrel as a scout when I was 12, and it crushed me because I was like, oh man, now what? Nothing.
You gotta eat it.
It was dead. And I didn't, and that made me feel bad.
No, yeah. So I grew up hunting, with my family and whatnot, but I took a lot of time off. I enjoyed it, but Ryan Mickler, that's actually how we grew up together. And then he called me. He knew I had bow hunted a little bit, and he called me to go to Hawaii 4 or 5 years ago. And I was actually supposed to head to Alaska with my wife and kids up fishing. And it was like a week before, Ryan Mickler style. And I changed all my plans, and I flew out. I says to my wife, listen, Ryan rubs shoulders with some amazing men. I think it'd be a good opportunity to go out there and meet them. Do you care if I delay our Alaska trip a week? And she says, no, go ahead. So I flew out there, and it has become my absolute passion. And it's not, I tell everybody this, it's not the kill. It's not.
Yeah.
I just sent out my message. We're doing another one in Hawaii next year. There's 8 spots. I sent it out to our original 10 people, and I've got two that missed out on it because they didn't text back fast enough.
Yeah.
Eric's going, Chesser, Ben's going,
Cool.
Brandon Lilly. I don't know if you know him. He's an author and a power lifter. He's at Sore Next. Do you know Brandon?
I know of him. I don't know him, but yeah,
Okay.
I know who he is.
So great group of guys all
Oh,
going
that's
out.
a good group. Yeah.
Ryan's going, Brecken's going, and but man, how do you explain to people what it's like to have these experiences and hunts? People think, oh, you're going out there and you get a lot of pushback. I do, at least, of you're killing an animal, and it's like we're like you said. I love the word harvest, but
Yeah.
it's more the community, is it not? I mean, it seems like
Yeah.
you
100%. Like, I always talk about connection, connect and conquer. Like that's my big thing. And I feel like hunting has given me an environment and an opportunity to connect in one of the more incredible ways in my life. And I now have, because I didn't grow up doing it, now I've like dove headfirst. When I first started hunting, we started mountain ops. My partners at the time, they were big into hunting. They knew the industry. They could speak the language. They could walk the walk. I couldn't. So I was just happy fueling the passion of these individuals. And that was really a thrill for me. Like, okay, these individuals, we can activate the passion of the hunt within them every single day. They can drink this,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and so, what the passion of the hunt's like. And there's certain tools and such that people can't use unless they're in the field, like their rifle or their pack or their, whatever they use that then. But mountain ops, they can activate that passion every day by like, okay, I'm getting out my mountain up product. And it kind of, it associates with hunting, and that's what hunters love. I didn't understand that completely at first. I was just excited to be a part of it. And then Eric Chester's Fireball, story and film, like that was the first hunt film I had ever watched. And I saw more respect and love and appreciation for the outdoors, for animals, for all this than I did most anywhere else, people that are non-hunters. And I was like, man, there's much more to this than just the kill. And then the food, I watched him like cooking it up and taking it home and using it. And remember, I'm just coming off of this 7 years of famine with my family. And so I now was learning an opportunity to go out into the mountains, bring home protein for my family and to provide in a way. And that was huge for me. Provide, protect, like that was everything for me from the beginning. And I felt like through many years, like I struggled in some of those regards. And so hunting gave me this purpose to go out and bring food home. And it was that satisfaction was incredible. That's what intrigued me first. And then, once I experienced it for myself and I started getting my wife and kids involved, I often say, I don't have FOMO, I have FUMO. I have fear of others missing out. It's like going to a good movie or a good restaurant or something like that. And for me, it's the gospel. It's like, oh man, I love this. I've got to share it. Like it's the best thing, And so hunting became one of those things where I can't just do this on my own. So I got my wife involved. Her first hunt was in Alaska on a caribou, an incredible caribou that we have hanging above the fireplace here at Mountain Ops. My two oldest daughters, when they were 10 and 12, bear hunt. Like we were scared to death because when you don't grow up in that, it's scary. You're going to go out and confront bears with my two little girls that are cheerleaders and dancers and stuff. It's like, what am I doing?
Yeah, listen to my podcast. I grew up in it and I'm terrified. It's terrifying.
Oh man, it's
scary. Right outside the firelight is danger. I know it. It's wanting to kill me, So.
I always think there's a movie, I haven't seen it, but the title is The Hills Have Eyes. And I'm always like, whenever I'm walking around hunting, I'm like, the hills have eyes. Like I always feel like I'm being watched, but especially on that bear hunt. But both of my daughters got bears. And then you took my son to Alaska on his first hunt. My youngest got her first hunt, out actually pulling the trigger was in Africa. And my first hunt ever was to Africa. It was kind of a spoiled way to get started, but I've got my dad into it. My mom,
your mom's story was
one
amazing.
Of my brothers, like my mom's story, that was incredible. And,
so amazing.
And she was the one that's like, it's in my blood. Can I do this again? I'm getting some type. But my dad, he came back from his first, it was an antelope hunt and he had a blast. He loved it. He was up there with me, my brother, our sons and him. So there's these 3 generations. We gave my dad his first rifle and it had his name engraved on it, and Leupold sent a scope with his name engraved on it, and like all this stuff. We were so excited about it. And at the end, we interviewed him, and it was difficult for him to take. And there is this feeling of, okay, I'm taking the life of an animal. It was maybe more heavy on him than most people that I've experienced that with. It's not just to be like, it's not just to, whatever. You got to think about it. There's a spiritual aspect to it.
100%. I think
Yeah.
that is, uh, that should happen. If you don't
Yeah.
feel that, there's, and like I said, some feel it more than others, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And my dad, as he was interviewed on camera, he said, I haven't fallen in love with hunting,
Mm.
meaning the kill aspect of it. It's
Mhm.
just kind of hard for him. Where my
Mhm.
mom, it was hard for her to take now, but she understood, like, this is going to provide for her family.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to my grandkids and all this. She was just so excited about this and asked, "Can we do it again tomorrow?"
Mhm.
And then my dad said, "I haven't fallen in love with hunting, but I have fallen in love with what hunting can do for relationships."
Mm.
And ultimately, when all is said and done, like, I go out on these hunts in at the end of September. My daughter's she has a elk tag up at Strawberry Ridge.
Mm.
Incredible. Like, my daughter last year, that's on the mission now, shot a 350 bull up there. I can't
That's
wait to get
awesome.
out there with this daughter, spend
Is it
that time.
rifle?
We will be. It's rifle.
That's awesome.
It's any weapon at that time
Right.
within this. It's a CWMU, but she'll
Yeah, yeah.
shoot a rifle, and then we'll have Rich Froning there with us. I think he's doing it this bow, but we'll have a good group up there. And we won't have our phones most of the day.
Mhm.
We'll be out in some of the most incredible creations and this beauty, and we'll enjoy it because we're disconnected, right? And then I've always said, like, let's enjoy the beauties, but let's let them, all these creations, let's have them help us point our way towards the creator and think of him and what he's given us. And so, we'll have some of these conversations up there, me and my daughter, about life and about creation and God's creations, and what he wants us to enjoy and what he wants us to think, and that, how is she feeling about life and what are her desires? And I can't wait because we will be undistracted. She won't have school. She won't have dance. She won't have all these things, friends. It's just me and her time up there. And we'll use that to connect with each other and to connect with God. And so my dad was spot on. I love what hunting can do for relationships, and the people that I've met in the industry. I mean, we're connecting because of this hunting industry. And yeah, there's always some oddballs in the industry that you just don't connect with. But this industry has welcomed me in as a non-hunter when I began this company with a few others back in 2010. I was a little worried. There's a lot of big burly guys that were intimidating to me, and I didn't know how would they treat me as one who doesn't know the language and the lingo and all this. And honestly, I showed a desire to know and to learn and to grow in it, and they took me under their wings. Every single person that I've connected with, that I've said, "Hey, can you help me with this?" I've received nothing but love and support and examples along the way. And so my life now, I feel like I've just seen this incredible movie. You're eating at this incredible restaurant, and I'm trying to get as many people that haven't hunted to at least understand it. And if you have a desire, like, I'm here to help you along the way. We've got a lot of people at Mountain Ops that had never hunted, and I've taken them on their first hunts. And that's one of the greatest, satisfactions for me. We even created the Mountain Ops Hunt Draw this last year, where people with their tenure and different participation in company activities can build up points to put in for hunts.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
and they're going on hunts that, they never would have. And one of them's going with me to Strawberry Ridge, and we call it Jurassic Park up there because they're just screaming all over the place. And then one won our intercompany fitness challenge, and he's going with us up there as well. He had a major transformation. So we try to, within our culture, create these opportunities of reward that aren't just monetary, but experiential, that people want and desire in their life. And then we'll record it so they can have that record for their family as well.
I love it, man. I love it. I'm all in. That's you're speaking my language. Like I said, I just went to Africa. My boy Hayes, he's 9. He just shot a Gems buck, his first ever animal.
It's awesome.
They interview him at the end, and it's just the funniest little conversation. And then my 12-year-old shot a Gems buck and a spring buck, and
Cool.
first animals, and like you said, spoiled.
Yep.
I mean, 9 and 12 hunting in Africa for their first time, but yeah, it's absolutely, it's I love it. And that's again why I want to, why I'm doing M42 Adventures, is trying to get people to, and it doesn't have to be hunting. We have 36 different things. We're doing surfing, we're doing mountain biking, we're doing golf, anything outside to get you off your phone, away from, distractions, and hopefully to travel a little, maybe to go here or there,
Yep.
go to Utah, come to Utah, go to, we're doing one in Costa Rica next year, a surfing
Cool.
school, a surfing experience. But yeah, I love it, man.
That's
Hunting
amazing.
is amazing. So, um, I want to ask you real quick. So I don't want to. This was the kind of the one that I wanted to touch on, but um, so faith. I wanted to touch on that because as you again, we've gotten to know each other here a little bit, but um, I don't have that. And I talked to Woody a little bit about it, and my mom, my grandma who passed away, my grandpa who was my closest friend passed away in the last few years. Um, they always have wanted me to come back and I know that's out of love. I'm aware that this has
Mhm.
brought joy and comfort to them and they cannot not say that to somebody that they love. How do you
Yeah.
not share
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
How do you uh one funny story is I read your book and I liked it. I just was like, man, this is a good book. It's got a great message and got me thinking. I'm like, what am I missing by not having that? I feel like I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not that religious person. I don't go to church,
Yeah.
I don't do that. And I'm like, what am I missing? Am I missing something? You know, is this something that I need to bring into my life? And I went home. It was on Friday. I went home Saturday. Me and my wife went to lunch and I says, hey babe, listen, she grew up, her dad there in Kaysville, was a bishop for like, I think 3 different times. So
Mm.
she has a little bit of animosity towards it because she always tells me, I never saw my dad. He got home, he worked at a bank there, Barnes Bank or something, I think. Is there a Barnes
Yeah.
Bank back in the day?
Yeah. Yep.
And she says, so I felt like my dad gave so much time to the church and everybody else got my dad, I didn't. And so there's a little bit of tension
Mm.
there, and I'm
Yeah.
aware of it. We've been married 20 years.
Yeah.
And I says, but listen, babe, you know, so kind of my thing with my kids is I don't necessarily want them to go to college unless they want to be a
Yeah.
doctor or a lawyer. I want them to be an
Yeah.
entrepreneur and I want to help them with that. But I told them, so when they graduate, I says, I'm going to send you traveling and I'll pay every month. I want you to move to a new country and I'm going to give you books to read. And as long as you pass the tests, I'll pay for you to go to the next country. And I'll do that for 24
Mm.
months.
Yeah.
And I want you to see the world, meet people, read, 24 books. The tests are going to be much harder than the ones I'm giving you today. But that's kind of my thought. And I says, listen, babe, what if we talk to them about going on a mission? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I says, listen, I know, this is coming out of left field, but I've read this book. It was an amazing book. You should read it. Just hear me out. And she says, we can talk about it. Let's think about it. I says, listen, if you just take away the religious aspect, it's service, it's growth, it's, so much. And that was Saturday at like noon. Guess who knocked on my door Saturday at 5 o'clock? Missionaries.
Missionaries.
And I opened the door and I says,
Yeah.
wow. I says, man, if I was a religious person right now, we'd be in trouble. And I talked to him on my doorstep for probably 30 minutes, told him our story. We've been out of the country for 7 years. I haven't had we had him knock on our door during COVID, and we actually had the boys talking to them then a little bit. But,
Mhm.
um, I says, one of them's from Heber, and he goes home in a month, but they says, hey, can we come talk to your boys? And I says, let me grab them. So I grabbed the boys out of the back room and I says, hey guys, here's the missionaries, would you guys want to hear them? And my oldest says, well, about, what? And I says, just whatever they're going to say. I don't know. I says, I would never want to keep you from something that might enrich your life. I says, you can say no, because I also don't force them. But
Yeah.
I says, but I don't want you to think that I kept you from something and you find it 10 years later and say, Dad, why did you never let us know what this was about? And they said, sure, we'll do it. We'll do it. And so they're coming tonight at 5:15 and on Thursday at 5:15. And that's because of your book. I'll give you the credit because it's true. But I'm one of those guys where I love being a student. I love the world. I love, like you said, that's why I travel. I eat all the food. I, I want to know everything and experience everything. I love life. I'm very passionate about life and relationships and all these things. And I'm curious to see what faith or that could add to my life. So I don't know
Yeah.
if there's a
Well,
question in there, but I don't know that there's
well, I got some.
if you got anything
Man,
for
you
me.
just.
That's that's
I probably have way too many thoughts going through my mind to make sense of them.
okay.
First of all, you as a father, telling your children like, hey, being open enough to say, hey, listen and make a decision, like just super commendable. Because a lot would say, I don't know about this. I'm going to protect my children because I don't know first. It's like,
Mhm.
what greater thing to do than like learn alongside your children and learn together. And they might bring
Mhm.
some insights to you as young, innocent kids that you might have guarded up because you're older and we
Absolutely.
let our ego and pride get in the way.
Mhm.
And so congrats there as far as a mission and like, asking your wife about, hey, what about a mission? We're going to do this 24-month thing. Like that's like you like opening up the conversation like that to your wife, to me speaks volumes to like, okay, that's the faith of a mustard seed. And it just begins with the thought of like, hey, should we consider this? Should we plant this seed in our
Mhm.
kids or in our heart? Should we see if it grows? It
Mhm.
is pretty incredible. A mission for me, a mission for my daughter right now, one of the hardest things I will ever do, much different than traveling around, learning the culture and this and that,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
You are, I've got these shoes. I'm going to step away and grab something. I
Mhm.
talk to my team about the shoes that they wear in life and the choices we make today. And I show them some shoes that I've worn throughout my life and decisions that I made. And these are my mission shoes right here. They're just
Mm.
worn through. They're the most important shoes that I've worn in my life because of
Mm.
what they've now done for the rest of my life
Mm.
as the foundational choices that I made. And they weren't about me. I
Mhm.
was on a mission, and the mission's like this pressure cooker of like this time in 2 years, 18 months, that you do something that's not for yourself, but
Mhm.
you end up learning so much from personalities of other people that you're living with, being with somebody 24/7. How does that help you with marriage and relationships and talking through and difficult things and looking for the good, overlooking the bad, and then getting out of your way and say, I'm here to share something with people that will benefit their life. And I'm here to serve whatever somebody needs. And so it takes you out of this like phase of life where it's all about you as teenagers. And what am I going to
100%.
do this next? And so it puts you in this realm, in this pressure cooker of learning that life's not about you. And it is about a relationship though. And I started to form a connection. I remember my first day in Mexico. I think I shared it in the book. I can't remember. I did in Spanish a little bit. And I stood there on the curb, scared to death. I was this homesick child. I stood there on the curb and I turned over to this companion of mine that didn't speak English and I didn't speak Spanish. And I said, I don't know much. I've got a lot to learn, but I love Jesus Christ. And that's why I'm here. That
Mhm.
love for Jesus Christ carried me through when I wanted to run home so many times. Like, how in the world do I do this? 24 months feels like a long time. Once it's over, now you're, 20 something years later, you've got kids. It's like, oh man, that happened so
Mhm.
quickly. But in the
Mhm.
moment, it's a long time, but it's teaching these kids so much. And they're taking a message of truth to the world. And that solidifies their own witness of that truth.
Mhm.
When it comes down to religion or faith, like the difference between, I think I mean, faith can lead you to religion. Faith can lead you to going to church or being active in a community. And the reason why I go to church is for a connection with God. It's a connection with
Mhm.
the people that are there as well, because they can strengthen me. We share things
Mhm.
like, right. There's a
Mhm.
lot of men's groups and groups and stuff like that and popping up. There's an elders quorum that I go to every Sunday, and I'm connected with that group of men who I'm learning about things in life and I'm learning from their perspective and this and that. But the reason why I go to church is to partake of an ordinance, of a sacrament. And I take a piece of bread and a piece of water every week that's been blessed by priesthood holders. And I end my repentance process for the week. That is
Mm.
the reason why I go. No,
Mm.
like, yes, I'm going to go learn. I'm going to be strengthened by others and then by me and that, this and that. But if all it was, and COVID, it demonstrated that well, like we were in our homes, we didn't have that was the thing. And I
That's the
remember going
purpose.
into that's the purpose. That's
Mm.
my religion. It's an organization that's set up and it's a formal religion, obviously, but it provides ordinances and covenants that attach me to my creator, attach me to my savior. And every week I partake of that, and that connection is renewed. And my ability to repent about the things that I've done throughout the week, like, yeah, I screw up all the time. I mess up all the time. And throughout the week, I'm thinking about those things. And next week and tomorrow, I want to do better. But I formalize that repentance process on Sunday in church. I can't do that in the mountains. I love hunting. I love being in the mountains. I connect to God in the mountains very much. You're a spiritual guy. I'm a spiritual guy. We can go and create those connections, but I cannot renew a covenant unless I partake of that ordinance that God's asked us to do. So that's why the religion is so important to me.
Yeah.
And then I would just challenge you. We could talk about this for days, but I want to challenge you to do maybe 2 things.
Okay.
And then just test me in this.
Okay.
For a period of time.
Okay.
Obviously the missionaries are going to come. That's great. I can't wait to hear what they share with you, what you guys feel and think. But this is more personal. I share about it in my book, and I've been doing it for 27 years. Every morning when I roll out of bed, I roll onto my knees and I start my day recognizing that God is the priority. And I send him that signal and I say, God, I'm on my knees. I'm speaking to you. And if you're there, if you're a God, like, let me know and help guide and direct my thoughts this day. Thank you for my family. I just say a prayer. Bless me today. I've got some important meetings. I've got some things to do. And then there's a book of scripture.
I've got a scary podcast coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was nervous. I was nervous for this one,
and then right after that, like after you do your bathroom break, whatever I want you, there's a book of scripture that you're very aware of. The missionaries are going to talk to you about it tonight. Like, spend 5 to 10 minutes in that, like immediately right after that. Every morning for the next.
In the Book of Mormon or in the Bible?
In the Book of Mormon. Start in the Book of Mormon and open up the first page. Just start reading but every day. Okay. For 30 days, if you're willing to go 90, do 90. Okay. But that's it. Like I had somebody when I was 15 years old challenge me to read in that book every day. And then they promised me that I would be blessed and my life would be changed if I did that. So I did it for the year. 15 years old. I didn't get a whole lot out of it. I was just reading to keep up with the commitment.
Yeah, me too.
27 years later, that commitment stays strong, that every day that's been a tool that's been a part of my faith and building my faith and my connection to God. Because when you open those, my mom calls them her letters from home. You're opening up a letter from home and you can see, okay, this is what God, when you read the words, just start in it, open it up. But there's a power that will come into your life the moment you begin a study in that book. And I promise you're going to feel it, but stay consistent. And with my life, it's been about consistency and then adding intensity over time. And the intensity comes by way of like, I've got these questions. I want to dive into a topic. I've got these thoughts I'm having. I want to pray about those and then see if I can receive some answers through it. But when you want to talk to God, pray. When you want to listen to God, open up the scriptures. And so for 30 days, do that. Just every day, don't miss a day. And then, we'll podcast again, but it's, there's a lot more to it, but it's as simple as that, creating a routine that can start to water and, give nourishment to that seed that you're planting and see if it grows.
My mom always says, it's like a muscle, you got to exercise it, or it will atrophy, and I can respect all that. The thing that I want from it, and I don't, maybe this is selfish, but I just want that comfort, that, mostly for me, it's just knowing that I'll see people again, that's that would be just such a relief. I don't have that,
Do we have time to talk about that really quick?
Sure. Yeah. I got whatever you got.
Cause, a year ago, almost exactly, I got a call from my brother and he said my dad had fallen and he didn't think he made it. So we rushed to their home and I got there just in time. They had resuscitated him. My mom, he went out to get a drink in the night, about 10:30 at night. So she wasn't asleep yet, but she heard a big thud, went out, the lights were all off. So he just kind of misstepped going towards the kitchen, went down the stairs instead. And it was a concrete bottom in the basement, long flight of stairs. She found him kind of contorted, not in a scene that you'd want to see. And so she's dealing with the memory of that visual all the time, but he severed his spinal cord 100%. And they resuscitated him, got him out to the ambulance, took him to one hospital, flew him in helicopter to another hospital. And by the time we got there, the social workers came in and the doctor said he's not going to survive this. But the breathing and everything, the drugs, they were breathing for him. But he was lifeless. The family gathered around the bed that night, and it was devastating. Never experienced anything. This is the first immediate family member that I've lost. And so we're sitting there, and we've been there for a few hours, and they tell us the drugs will wear off at about this time, and then you can expect that he'll just go, And so somebody in that room started to hum a hymn that maybe you've heard, and it's a hymn that's families can be together forever.
Mhm.
And all of us started to hum together with that hymn, and then it was done. And then somebody else started to hum another hymn, and it was "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing." And so all of us kind of joined in, and we started to hum, and that was done. And then we started to hum "Amazing Grace." And as soon as "Amazing Grace" started to be hummed by all of us in the room, and there was a really sweet, just special feeling and spirit in that room. This is my hero. He's about to go home to the God who gave him life and who gives each of us life. And we're humming these hymns that have meaning for us. The most important one, which you touched on, was you want to know that you'll be with your family together. So we hum that, families can be together forever. "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing," "Amazing Grace." Right as we started that, the line on the machine just went flat. And my father was on to the next adventure. And I remember sitting in that room that night, listening to each of those, as we hummed and thinking about the words of those songs. Those are the powerful messages that these missionaries are going to share with you that you've heard before, right? And it's that families can be together forever. And it's because of the fount of every blessing, our Savior, Jesus Christ. And it's through his amazing grace. We are saved by his grace. And that's the message that my daughter's taking out to the world. That's the only reason why I could let a daughter of mine leave my house, leave our home, leave our care to go out. It's because families need to know that. They need the peace that can come, the comfort that can come. That's it. She just had her companion she's with right now. Her father just passed away. And she didn't go home. And she didn't go home because she said, "I need to let these families know that what I'm out here teaching is real. And I will see my father again." But that message of those songs, and it's through the amazing grace of Jesus Christ, there's a scripture that says how great the importance to make these things known unto the inhabitants of the earth. And it's those things that are known. That's what brings peace and comfort. And then it's a connection through ordinances that brings a comfort into people's lives. You probably read a story in my book about a tree stand that I sat up in, and I was able to attach myself to it and sit up there and endure the day, endure the life, and then as you apply it into life.
Tree stands terrify me. I have a bad relationship. I'm afraid of heights. So I was with you the whole time on that
heights and
one.
bears, and I had that all
I'm with you. I was
there.
like, get out of the tree, run.
But that's what my religion does to me, is it attaches me to the tree through covenants with the Lord. A covenant is a two-way promise. It's a handshake. It's a vow. It's like, hey, we're in this together. And so taking that sacrament each week allows that connection to be made full and complete. And that brings peace into life. It brings peace to families, that there's comfort, there is a way, and that families can be together forever. You probably read in the book as well, my mom named all of us T's, and our initials are TF. Family slogans, together forever. That was our family song. Families can be together forever. And that's what brings me more joy and happiness and peace and comfort that you're talking of than anything else in my life. And so it's a message that if I was asked to drop my nets right now and go and share, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would go broke to do it. I would pay to do it. It's that important. It has brought that much peace and comfort into my life. So.
Yeah, I was in, so a little bit of story about mine. I was in Australia. We hadn't seen my family for about 9 months. We usually try to meet up in Alaska. So my grandparents and parents would meet us in Alaska. We'd fish with them for a week or two on my boat, and then we'd continue on to our travels. That way, every year, 6 months, we'd see them. And like I said, my grandpa was my best friend, just inseparable. For the last while, he was there when I was trying to rebuild my business and all that. So we just had that father-son relationship there. And I was in Australia, and they called up and said, "Hey, Grandpa's had a heart attack. He's going to go in St. George. He's going to go into surgery. You need to talk to him." They said everything should be fine. They're going to put some stents in, but he just wants to say hi. So we had a short conversation. I love you. You know, I wish I was there. I'm on the other side of the world, but I'll talk to you soon. And I'll get emotional now. He wouldn't come out of it. So he came out of the surgery and just wouldn't come out of sedation. You know, something happened. They think he might have, he did it was like a 6 or 7 bypass or something. And so I talked to my buddy, he's an anesthesiologist, and he says, that's a long time for your heart to be out, you know, running through a machine. And so he probably had a clot. And anyway, they called me up and said, he's basically in a coma. We're not sure what's going to happen. And we were in Adelaide, Australia, and we were like a couple days later, we were supposed to be flying to Singapore. And I says, I'll be home. And so I got my entire family and we flew home. It cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and we rerouted back to St. George, Utah. And I got here and he was in the hospital, and I spent, I think, 13 days and nights. I didn't leave his side.
Wow.
And sorry. And he didn't make it.
You good?
And we finally had to pull the plug, and I don't have that comfort. And so, you know, I wish I did. My mom does, and I rely heavily on her faith, you know.
Yeah.
You look to those people that you love and respect, and you pray that they're right. But I don't have it, you know, so I'm envious of that.
Well, somebody somebody that I respect highly once said, if you don't have the faith, just lean on mine. If all you do is maybe test out the belief and then lean on mine, do that. So you have your mom, you have others, you have me, like, but it's a test. Like even you saw you saw in my book, I talked about paying 10% of our tithing. That's something in the scriptures in the Bible that says, he says, try me in this and see that I won't open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing to where you can't receive. And that doesn't always come by way of like money or finances. It might be health, it might be strength, it might be ability. And then sometimes there is financial resource. And, but I would just say, with the faith that you do have and the desire you do have to have that comfort, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough they say to move mountains, to just start with there, start with that. And it's, in my opinion, if you start with that with great intention and you truly do want to have that comfort in your life, you're going to find it. I have 100% confidence. And, but it will come down to your true intention, your true desire, and the time and attention that you put into that desire. You get out of things what you put into it. Right. And so,
absolutely.
I'm sorry that happened. At some point that's going to happen to all of us. And these relationships that matter most, they ultimately, there's a temporary separation in this life. And I wasn't sure how I would respond to a father or mother or somebody in my family. And it just re-solidified the fact and the feelings that I felt during that whole process. And now here a year later, that what I've been taught, what I've taught, what I felt is real. And it's been reconfirmed through experience and through, spiritual experience that what's going on with my dad is good. And he's in a place that he loves being, and that one day we'll see him again. And that definitely is a comfort greater than any comfort that we could find or buy or anything in life. And, and so if that is true, it's worth putting forth the time and attention and effort to figure out, just see, to test, to apply and see how you feel. So,
especially
thanks
for your
thanks for sharing that.
Especially for your kids too, because I look at my little boys and soon to be my daughter, and I just think, if this is possible to attain, I cannot keep you from that. If they can, if maybe something's broken in me or something that I just can't get there, but I will never keep them from, if they can find that, finding it. And that's kind of what I told my wife.
If they find that and you,
they'll convince me.
If they find that, they'll convince you. I was just going to say, like, that heaven wouldn't be heaven without my family. Right.
100%.
So it's like, we're all broken.
Yeah.
We're all, life is this world is a broken place. But there's the answer in my Conquer code. It's like, there's someone that heals, there's someone that fixes, there's someone that
Yeah.
knows. I share a quote there: "You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were." That's why Jesus Christ is the most powerfully positioned to serve all of us, to help us. He is our Savior, and he has gone through everything we have, so that, or that we will, so that he can come to our aid and be there and comfort. There's one thing that the adversary that's out there can never mimic, and that's peace and the comfort you're talking about. He
Yeah.
can't bring it. He can't bring peace to our lives.
Yeah.
That only comes through one source, and that's the Prince of Peace. So,
Yeah.
so I'm proud of you for, the thoughts and the process and the desire and the questions and and just how you're leading as a father and husband. That's super commendable, and this is what life's all about.
Yeah. I agree, man. I appreciate you for writing the book. And this world's new to me. I've always been kind of private, and like you said, I don't have that religious aspect or whatever, but I don't know what it is. But I told my wife, I'm like, I feel like I should start a company that gets people enjoying life and gets them off screens
Awesome.
and so I love what you're doing. I appreciate your time again. That is
Thank
my
you.
number one thing. I appreciate you taking your time. How do people reach you, Trevor? What's the way?
Yeah, I mean, the business, it's Mountain Ops, MTN, OPS. That's what we use for social media, for our website and everything. For my name, it's just Trevor Farnes, TREVORFARNES. And you can also find the book at theconquercode.com, and on Amazon. I mean, it'll redirect people to Amazon or Audible, for that. And yeah, I'm on social media, on LinkedIn and such. And I look forward to learning more about you and your business, and seeing how we can support each other as well. It's exciting. So shoot me a message after, and let's keep connected.
Absolutely. And there you have it, my conversation with Trevor. I knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be that good. I'm grateful that he was able to give us a little extra time. I almost went 2 hours there, but I think we just dove into some things that needed to be touched on, and I'm very grateful that he was willing to give us that time. So hope you enjoyed the conversation. Some very good lessons in there. Again, Trevor, I'd never spoken to him until this conversation, and I just feel a connection with him. I can tell that he's a good person, a good father, a good CEO, good businessman, and this conversation just reaffirmed that. So check out his book again, The Conquer Code: Unlocking Success Through Failure, Faith, and Family. Check out Mountain Ops, supplement company for, really anything adventure, but specifically aimed at the hunting world. And I think that's a great niche that needed to be serviced. So again, Trevor, thank you for your time. I look forward to meeting you down here in St. George, Utah. Hopefully have you out and your family and we can have a barbecue, but great conversation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Follow Trevor along. Again, tell your friends about M42 Adventures. We appreciate it. Follow, like, share, all those wonderful things. We're just getting rolling here. We're 6 months old, and we're very grateful for people like Trevor who will take time out of their day to sit down and spread their message and their knowledge. To me, that's what this business is about, and why, I am taking time away from my family to do this, is to have conversations with people like this and get their messages out and learn from them. And I'm excited. So I'm going to start this journey on faith. I'm going to keep my promise to Trevor and see where it goes. And I'm a student in life. I want to learn all these things that we're doing: surfing, mountain biking, fly fishing. And I also want to learn about faith and spirituality. So I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to put I'm going to be a doer, not a sayer. And I'm going to jump into this adventure of faith. And I'm excited. So we'll see where it leads. I'm sure we'll touch base down the road, maybe get Trevor back on again, like he had said. And we're excited. So thank you again, Trevor, Mountain Ops. Appreciate you guys. Read the book and keep listening. Thank you. Bye.